Smoky conditions all across Broward County with multiple brush fires burning in the Everglades. People miles away from the flames saying they can see and even smell the fire.
When firefighters set the Everglades ablaze in April 2025, something in the flames made them stop cold. The ground itself was moving.
Huge pythons are taking over part of the state, slithering right into people's backyards, and now Florida is declaring open season on the predators.
For decades, an apex predator has been hiding in the sawgrass of South Florida, invisible, breeding, and nobody knew the real numbers until the fire stripped away its camouflage. What they found was worse than anyone predicted. Thousands of these beasts, suddenly exposed against the charred earth, some as thick as telephone poles. And the data coming back is terrifying.
To these muscular eating machines, the Everglades are like a buffet that never closes.
Entire species are vanishing at rates that don't make sense. 99% gone in some areas. But the most disturbing part isn't what the fire revealed. It's what scientists are now saying about what we're doing to them and what they might be becoming because of it. If this is what the flames expose, what are they still hiding? Burning away, the cover. The answer comes at the edge of the flames. As the fire line crawls forward, the world ahead of it doesn't just burn. It moves. Grasshoppers explode out of the brush. Birds dive for anything fleeing the heat. Marsh rabbits bolt through the smoke like ghosts trying to escape a world on fire. And then, the motion changes. It slows. It gets heavier. Something starts pushing through the grass like a living battering ram. A Burmese python, 10 feet of muscle and instinct, breaks into the open. Its camouflage, perfect in the shadows of sawgrass, is worthless against a backdrop of scorched earth. Here in the open, the ghost finally has a shape. The snake is totally exposed. During recent prescribed burns in South Florida, land managers have seen this play out in real time. They watched as the fire stripped away the cover, and suddenly snakes that had been invisible were standing out against the ash. It was a moment that confirmed everyone's worst fears. The infestation was not just bad, it was everywhere. You have to understand the scale of this. We are talking about thousands of acres of land. When the grass is high, you could hide a school bus in there, and nobody would see it. Now, imagine trying to find a snake that does not want to be found. It is nearly impossible. But fire changes the physics of the hunt. Reports from the field are startling. In one instance, a hunter watched as the smoke cleared to reveal a 12-footer trying to make a run for a canal. In another case, the heat flushed out a female that had been sitting on a nest. It revealed a clutch of eggs that would have turned into 50 new predators by the summer. This is the reality of the burn. It is violent, it is loud, and it is incredibly effective. It turns the python's greatest strength, their ability to vanish, into their biggest weakness. They have to move. And when they move, humans can finally see them. But it is not just about seeing the snakes. It is about understanding how they have changed the landscape. When the fire burns away the grass, it reveals a marsh that is eerily empty of other life. The raccoons are gone. The foxes are missing. The opossums have vanished. The fire exposes the pythons, yes, but it also exposes the crime scene. It shows us a world where the food web has been hollowed out, and in the hardest hit areas, only a few survivors are left dodging an apex predator that should not be there. The flames crackle and pop, consuming the dry fuel. The heat is intense enough to burn your skin if you get too close. But the crews watching the line are not looking at the fire. They are scanning the ground just ahead of it, waiting for the glint of scales, waiting for the monsters to run. The fire reveals what the darkness hides. The fire shows us what's happening now. But to understand why the Everglades is burning for answers, we have to go back to where this nightmare started. A predator paradise found. Before the flames, before the hunts, and before anyone realized the swamp was changing, the first mistake began quietly. It didn't look like an invasion or even a threat. It started with curiosity and with a single choice made across a pet store counter in Miami. In the 1980s and 90s, Miami was the capital of exotic pets. Everyone wanted something cool and a little bit dangerous. They bought baby Burmese pythons. At 20 inches long, they are actually pretty cute. They curl around your arm and stay small for a little while. But here's the deal with pythons. They never stop growing. That cute baby snake can reach several feet long within a few years and just keeps getting bigger. Then it becomes 8 feet, then 10. Suddenly, you have a predator the size of a telephone pole living in a glass tank in your living room. It eats rabbits. It looks at your cat with hungry eyes, and it costs a fortune to keep it fed. So, what did people do? They drove out to the edge of the swamp, opened the tank, and let them go. They thought they were giving the animal a chance at freedom. They did not realize they were releasing a biological weapon into a fragile world. Then came Hurricane Andrew in 1992. This was the massive turning point. The storm smashed into South Florida like a bomb. It destroyed homes, businesses, and even at least one reptile breeding facility, allowing more snakes to end up in the wild. Untold numbers of pythons were thrown into the wild all at once. It was a mass breakout, and the Everglades was the perfect hideout. It is warm, it is wet, and it was basically an all-you-can-eat buffet. The pythons found a paradise. Once they reach a large size, they have very few natural predators in Florida. Nothing here evolved to deal with a 20-foot constrictor. The alligators put up a fight, sure, but a full-grown python can actually take down an alligator. We have seen the photos of the aftermath where a python burst open trying to swallow a gator whole. It is a clash of titans, but the snakes have the numbers on their side. For years, nobody even noticed they were there. That is the scary part. The invasion was silent. Pythons are ambush predators. They do not chase you down. They wait. They curl up in the water, holding their breath for 30 minutes at a time. They blend into the roots and the mud. They are like ghosts. By the time we realized there was a problem, it was already too late. The numbers are the kind that make scientists lose sleep. In some areas of the Everglades, the population of marsh rabbits has dropped by 99%. Think about that. 99% are just gone. Raccoons dropped by 99%. Opossums are down 99%. Bobcat numbers are crashing too. The swamp used to be noisy. If you went out there 20 years ago, you would hear rustling in the bushes everywhere. You would see eyes reflecting in your flashlight beam. Now, in the core python areas, it is silent. The only thing you hear is the wind and the mosquitoes. Mammal populations in those zones have collapsed. Not every individual has been eaten, but their numbers have been driven down to a tiny fraction of what they once were. The python is a super predator. It creates a total collapse of the food web by eating the prey that native predators need to survive. So, the Florida panther, which is already endangered, has nothing to eat because the snakes got to the deer first. It is a domino effect, where the loss of prey animals ripples upward and puts even more pressure on already struggling native predators. And get this, they breed like crazy. A single female can lay up to 100 eggs in a single clutch. Even if only a fraction of those survive, the population explodes. We are not dealing with a slow increase. We are dealing with an exponential takeover. Models now estimate there could be anywhere from tens of thousands to over 100,000 pythons out there. But nobody knows for sure because for everyone we catch, many more remain hidden in the marsh. They have conquered the swamps and are moving into the mangroves. They have even been found swimming in the ocean, crossing from island to island in the Florida Keys. They are adaptable, they are resilient, and they are always hungry. This is why the burns are so critical. We cannot fight an enemy we cannot see. We let them get a 30-year head start. We let them dig in, breed, and take over. Now, we are playing catch-up, and the only way to catch up is to change the battlefield entirely. We have to strip away their advantage and make the ghost visible. The missing pieces of the food chain tell a much darker story than the snakes alone. Vanishing life in Florida. Once the smoke clears from a prescribed burn, the landscape looks like another planet. It is a world of black and gray. The sawgrass stubble sticks up like burnt toothpicks. The ground is covered in a layer of ash. It smells of carbon and damp earth. This is when the hunters move in. And these are not your average hunters. These are the python contractors. They are men and women hired by the state to do one thing: remove the invasive snakes. They are tough because they have to be. They spend their nights wading through water full of alligators, fighting off clouds of mosquitoes, and wrestling giant constrictors with their bare hands. After a burn, their job gets a little bit easier, but it also gets a lot more intense. In the dense, unburned marsh, a python is invisible. You could walk right past one and never know it. Its skin matches the shadows perfectly, but on the black background of a fresh burn, a tan and brown snake stands out like a neon sign. Field tracking and radio telemetry studies show that when habitat is disturbed and cover is reduced, pythons often move more as they search for new hiding places and prey. They put transmitters inside the snakes to see what they did. The details vary by study and site, but the pattern is clear. Less cover means more movement and more chances to spot them. Hunters patrol the edges of the burn zones. They scan the open ground and look for the curves in the ash. Instead of a single documented April 2025 event with a precise percentage jump, hunters generally report that freshly burned areas temporarily make snakes noticeably easier to find. That is a huge jump. It turns a needle in a haystack into a needle on a black table. There was a video circulating on social media recently that showed a hunter walking through a freshly burned section of the Everglades. The ground was still smoking in some places. He stopped and pointed. There, curled up against a limestone rock, was a massive beast. It was totally exposed and had nowhere to hide. The hunter approached it, and the snake hissed with a sound like a punctured tire. It struck with its jaws wide open, showing rows of backward-facing teeth. But without the grass to get tangled in, the hunter had the upper hand. He was able to grab it behind the head, though it took 2 people to wrestle it into a bag. That snake was full of eggs. That was a whole generation of predators removed in 5 minutes. But it is not just about eyes on the ground. The lack of cover allows for new technology to work. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras can fly over the burn zones easily. In the past, the thick grass blocked the view. Now, a drone or thermal camera can sometimes spot a snake sunning itself or glowing against the darker ground from well above the marsh. Scientists are also using environmental DNA to track them. They take water samples to see if python DNA is present. It tells them if snakes are in the area, but the fire gives them the visual proof they need to go in and get them. It is a grim business. Nobody enjoys ending the life of an animal, but everyone involved knows the stakes are too high to ignore. Every python removed is a victory for the rabbits, the birds, and the deer. It is a victory for the Everglades. The burn creates a window of opportunity that might only last a few weeks before the grass grows back. In Florida, things grow fast. The green shoots start coming up within days. So, the hunters have to be quick. They have to strike while the ground is still hot. They walk the ash line, which is the border between the burned and unburned land. This is a prime spot because the snakes hang out on the edge, ready to dive back into cover if they feel threatened. It is a game of patience and fast reflexes. And the crazy part is, even with the fire and the exposure, they are still hard to see. They will bury themselves in the mud or hide in deep holes in the rock. You still have to have a sharp eye, but at least now you have a real chance to win. But as we get better at finding them, the snakes might be getting better at hiding. Wrestling back the land. We have burned the grass and scorched the earth until it looks like the surface of a darker, angrier planet. We have caught the snakes and tallied the numbers. We tell ourselves that we are turning the tide. But deep in the humid silence of the night, a terrifying question hangs in the air. Is it enough? Or are we just making them stronger? The Everglades is not just a swamp. It is a sprawling beast of 1.5 million acres. It is a labyrinth of shadow. We are only burning a small fraction of that. We are patrolling a tiny spot on a map. For every python we pull out of the ash, how many are slipping away? How many are sliding into the deep mangroves where the airboats cannot go and the fire cannot reach? Here is the dark theory that keeps the biologists awake at night. We are not wiping them out. We are selectively breeding them. Evolution usually takes thousands of years, but in the glades, we have hit the fast-forward button. By hunting the ones that are visible, we are removing the dumb genes from the pool. We are ending the lives of the careless ones. What remains? The hiders, the shadows, and the ones that instinctively fear the sound of an engine. It is a worrying idea because removing the bold snakes could, over time, favor the most cautious and cryptic individuals, though this is still a theory rather than something we have definitively proved. Hunters are already reporting strange behaviors. Some report snakes that seem more cautious and harder to approach, but it is difficult to know how much of that is true behavioral change and how much is just how elusive these animals have always been. We are seeing them move only in the pitch black of a new moon when human vision is useless. There are whispers of snakes adapting to the cold by burrowing deeper into the limestone rock to survive freezes. But the wildest theory is about the fire itself. There is even speculation that if burns become more common, natural selection could favor snakes, whose colors and behavior make them harder to spot in scorched landscapes. But so far, that remains firmly in the realm of what if, not documented fact. Nature adapts to camouflage. If we turn the Everglades black with controlled burns, will the pythons turn black to match? Are we accidentally pushing for a mutation where a snake is as dark as charcoal? That would make them invisible against the scorched earth. A predator you cannot see until you step on it would be a nightmare. They are expanding too. They are moving north and sensing the traces of civilization. There is a hypothesis that they are using the canal systems as highways. This underground transit system could lead them straight into the suburbs. They are appearing in backyards in Miami, curled around pool pumps. They are likely drawn less to the hum of the city and more to the easy prey, rats, birds, and pets, that come with dense human settlement. If the pressure in the glades becomes too high, the population will not just die out, it will surge outward like a bursting dam. The fire is a tool, and it clears the board, but it is not a cure, and the battlefield itself is turning against us because the climate is shifting. The dry seasons are becoming like an oven, turning the sawgrass into tinder. This makes every controlled burn a roll of the dice. If the wind shifts, the soil itself could catch fire. In extreme cases, peat and organic soils can burn deep and long, damaging the ground and making recovery much harder. Land managers are walking a thin wire. Burn too little, and the snakes conquer the brush. Burn too much, and you risk a fire that does real harm to the ecosystem you are trying to save. And all the while, the enemy is watching. We worry that by eliminating the pythons in the easy areas, we are creating a sanctuary in the heart of the glades. In those untouched zones, are they growing larger without us? Are there monsters out there right now, thick as oil drums, laying 100 eggs at a time? We are burning the haystack to find the needles, but the needles are learning how to move. The needles are learning how to hide. And we have to ask ourselves, are there just too many needles to ever find them all? The mystery deepens as we look into the genetic future of these giants. Super python emergence. If the fire is our hammer, then science is trying to find a scalpel. But the deeper we go into the solutions, the more it sounds like a horror story. The fire reveals the mystery by stripping away the grass, and the truth is a landscape of silence. When you look at a healthy Everglades, you should hear a symphony of life. You should hear birds, frogs, and mammals. But in a python-infested area, you see a beautiful green tomb. The silence is heavy because the ecosystem has been eaten hollow. This silence has driven scientists to desperate measures. They are racing to unlock the genetic code of the invader. Some researchers have discussed advanced genetic tools, like gene drives, as a theoretical way to control invasive species in the future, including snakes. But for Burmese pythons, this remains a concept on paper, not something being released into the wild. The idea is to change the pythons so they only produce male babies. It sounds like a perfect biological bomb, but the theories on how this could go wrong are terrifying. Scientists worry more about unintended ecological effects, resistance, or a gene drive spreading beyond the target population than about science fiction scenarios of immortal zombie snakes. Could we accidentally create a sterile snake that does not die? A zombie population that lives for 40 years and eats everything without ever breeding? Or worse, what if the genetic change jumps to other species? In reality, properly designed gene drives are built to be highly species-specific, but questions about off-target effects and long-term consequences still make many experts extremely cautious. We could trigger an extinction event that wipes out the very snakes we are trying to save. Then there are the scent traps. We are trying to copy the smell of a female snake to lure the males out. But some think we might be ringing the dinner bell too loudly. Realistically, these lures are more likely to draw in snakes already in the area than to call them from hundreds of miles away, but they could still concentrate animals around specific spots. Could we be drawing snakes from hundreds of miles away into the heart of the Everglades? We are throwing everything at the wall right now. Drones with heat-seeking cameras, dogs trained to smell snake musk, and money for every snake caught. But right now, fire is the only weapon that gets results. It resets the clock and gives the native animals a brief moment to breathe and run. So the next time you see smoke rising over South Florida, do not think of destruction. Think of it as a spotlight. Think of it as a desperate attempt to take back the wild from a monster. The grass will grow back because the sawgrass is ancient and stubborn. But the terrifying question remains: what will be hiding in it when it returns? The war for the soul of the Everglades is far from over. It might just be the start of a much stranger and darker battle. So, is Florida destined to belong to the snakes forever, or can we win? Are we creating a super predator that we can no longer control through our own interference? Can we actually win this war, or is the swamp already lost? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting breakdowns like this. Thanks for watching.